Okay, so that's working. So, well, good evening. It's good to see some new faces and some existing faces. And for those that don't know me, Doug Sharp, P2AD, used to be a neighbor of Chuck's in Firestone, but now I upgraded and my address now says Longmont, even though I'm in unincorporated Weld County. So I wanted to be a little more involved. And he asked for a talk on the RMHAM backbone, and I said, that's a boring presentation. So I resurrected this one from one I did for the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club, and why aren't we get that? So to really understand our microwave backbone, you have to understand the power of cheese. And I don't know how many of you remember this. And I've got to do a little bit of reconfiguration. So if I do,
Oh, that has been
Chuck, I may need you to work this thing. I don't know.
Yeah, that has been unmuted.
Audio.
Okay. Now we got to turn this volume down probably. And let's see if this is going to work.
I don't know how many of you remember this commercial. It was just Christmas, so
Whoa, those must have been some cookies you left, Sam.
I didn't leave them cookies, I left them cheese.
Behold the power of cheese.
So
Now I got to mute. And where's my mute button? There it is.
okay. So for those of you that couldn't hear all of that, the little girl comes rushing down and, Mommy, Daddy, look! And that room was filled with sports car, musical instruments, puppies, trains, guitars, everything. And she says, I left them cheese. So I said, well, what is the power of cheese? So I did some Googling, and there's a lot of information about cheese. I didn't know there was lactose intolerant cheese, but apparently there is. But I couldn't figure out why cheese was so powerful. So I was talking with Chuck, I'm talking with Rick a little bit here, and okay. I stole this. I think Chuck stole it on the top here. You know, I don't want to read the whole thing. The power of cheese means an immense appeal and influence cheese has on people, often used figuratively, to describe something so simple that can be incredibly satisfying or even addictive, signifying its ability to bring joy and comfort, and sometimes even being considered a culinary force to be reckoned with. You stole that from the internet somehow.
Oh, yeah, I thought about
But I dashed at you, unknown source by K0ITP. And when I was talking to Rick, I believe you said cheesemakers are devoted to finding new ways to satisfy people. But I decided the power of cheese was thinking out of the box, being different, embracing a new idea. That little girl was thinking out of the box, wasn't she? She was different. And in this, we can serve the community, create things that we're all going to enjoy, work together. And I love this. I don't know if it was Rick or Chuck said, cheese has no ego. So when we work together, not worrying about are we the most powerful? Are we in control of everything? Doesn't it turn out a lot better? And yes, our treasurer told us they made a $500 donation to RMHAM. You know where that money's going? Towards our backbone, it's going towards cheese. And so blessed are the cheesemakers. Yes, Bob, I agree. So this is a talk about a backbone. Back in 1990, boy, I love the 90s. And some of these things I recognize, some of these things I don't. Other than, big hair, I recognize the Prince of Bel-Air, obviously a boy band that I have no idea who they are. Is this? Yes, those are the Spice Girls.
Yeah.
I actually flew on an airplane with Baby Spice. We were flying back from London, and I asked the pilot if I was on the Concorde. And they let you go up in the cockpit. And I said, well, do you even let somebody on the landing? And he says, well, yes. Can I sit up there? He goes, well, we've already promised it to the blonde woman in row 6. I said, yeah, I saw her because I'm in row 4. He goes, she's a Spice Girl, And I'm not surprised that the pilot gave the seat to the Spice Girl, not me.
Sorry.
But yeah, I flew on an airplane with the Spice Girl. So, but back in the 90s, our technology was analog based, really wasn't. And we had a little bit of AX25 at 1200 baud, radio teletype, but it was mostly analog. The repeaters were, to link them, you needed to be a brain surgeon to kind of make it work. We didn't have interoperability. We didn't have remote diagnostics. Had you heard about remote HF stations back then? But we've moved forward. So in 2020, and they have all these, what do they call these? These aren't emoticons. I guess they're just small logos. But these didn't exist back then. But now we've got a broadband superhighway to all of our repeater sites. We get really good diagnostics, things that we only dreamed about 20 years ago. So, okay. So we started this thing that people called the RMHAM backbone. And I'm going to be kind of rude to you guys in the audience since you're right here so we can look at those online. And online, feel free to pop into the chat, unmute yourself. This can be interactive, and same thing for you in the room here. This backbone was conceived first by the group at Rocky Mountain Ham Radio. I'm trying to remember exactly when we started. I want to say our first microwave link was probably 2010. It was a very short link. We were experimenting with, we started with 2.4 gigahertz and lots of interference. And we moved up to the 3 gigahertz ham band. We were able to get some equipment, commercial equipment that fit into the ham band. And then we were trying to see, well, can we make this signal go a mile? Can we do 2 miles? When we were done, the longest link we had was about 45 miles. It was steps, baby steps. Mm-hmm. We had to learn to crawl before we could walk, before we could run. And then unfortunately, the equipment's just not available anymore. And the reliability of it, the quality of it was low. But we started with that. But then we had other groups join us. We had, I think the first major participant was the Northern Colorado Club. And we brought their network into play. And then the Fun Machines down in kind of based out of Fremont County joined us, and Colorado Repeater Association, the Aurora Group. Now LARC is part of this. And it's really a group effort. But we still call it the RMHAM backbone, but it's all of us. This is cheese. There's no ego here. It allows us to go to the repeater site without going to the repeater site. And we can use this day to day or events like Field Day. We used it heavily when we did the WWV 100th anniversary. I don't know if anybody went up to that or participated here, but we actually had the backbone extended down to the site that we were operating right there in Wellington. That way we would be on the internet, we could exchange our logs, ARES deployments, there's lots of uses. And no, you don't need a dish the size of the very large array in New Mexico. Shucks. But you could use one if you want. So here's our current network, and everybody, if you can spot the LARC node in here. Oh yeah, it's the purple one. Yeah. But this is an eye chart, but if I get close to it, all these purple are the high elevation sites, and the yellows are people or places that care and feed for this that we dial in on virtual private network. But the fundamental piece is we are not an internet service provider, but this is to connect these mountaintops that, well, right here, Weld County EOC to Mount Namaqua to Budweiser, and I don't know what that one is. That's probably Horsetooth. Well, Horsetooth is up here, and Lee Hill, Devil's Head, Pinion way down south, Cedarwood way down near Pueblo, and out here Grand Mesa. All of these purples are generally connected by 5 gigahertz in the ham band, in the amateur band microwave. So, and then somewhere on here will be a small one marked K2AD. I have no idea where it is, but like Dave, WNJHK and Firestone is over here. Mark is on here somewhere, but these are the places that we can go to move data from one place to another. So we've got this common network. Here I said our first microwave was 4 sites. Now we're connecting at least 100. As I said, half of those are high mountaintops. Want to really stress, we are not an internet service provider. This is not the place to go to say, hey, I'd really like to get internet. First of all, it's not really legal for us to do that kind of stuff and send commercial information through. And that's really not why we're here. We're here to connect the repeater sites together. This is an old part of the slide deck I did for Northern Colorado, but these are their microwave sites that they're all connecting together. And other groups like Colorado Connection rides this pipeline. So we have a Fort Collins repeater that's on here. We have voting receivers, and we ride the Northern Colorado network. When the Northern Colorado group wants to go to the south, they ride the other parts of the network. Similarly with LARC, we've got right now the Justice Center linked in. We've got my house, and we have Lee Hill, so that we can have, and we have the Firestone Public Works, so that we can bring our voting receivers back. This is the cheese. So the backbone supports everything IP. So if you want to run All-Star data, you talked about DMR. This is how our DMR network connects together. I don't know if anybody in this group is really running System Fusion. I don't, but okay, Rick does, but we can transport Fusion through here. Not a lot of D-Star. There is a little bit still in Boulder, but, and only a few of us do P25, but if it's IP, we can move it from one place to another. We have limited internet gateways, though that we can gateway some of the LARC traffic to the All-Star macro network. But we have to be careful about that because we're stealing data, not in the case of LARC, from our commercial partners. And usually these are up on a mountaintop you got to be careful how much of their excess bandwidth we use. But thankfully, we've got the Justice Center, and we can move the LARC traffic directly over to the Longmont fiber system. And that's a really good sharing and common environment because we really don't run other people through that gateway on a regular basis. We kind of route the LARC traffic through. So, and just, I think everybody online knows who everybody is, but identify yourself so they can hear you on the air.
LARC and 7CTM. I'm the tech committee for LARC, but also RMHAM. I think one thing I point out here with the interoperability, with the technologies and everything IP. But I think the other thing that we have done with a lot of the sites is some of our sites have got cameras. So when we've had fires or to be able to look, at the site. So I think that's another important thing that RMHAM is doing with some of the IP cameras, not only for security, but it's also interesting, to go take a look with like a horse-tooth camera, and you can see bears and different things that are showing up, or get a feel for the amount of snow on some of these sites.
Yeah. Yes, definitely, and we'll have to tell the story later. I've got a slide on that talks about some of our stuff at Field Day, fire response. But yeah.
Okay, so this is a ignorant novice question.
And barely yourself to the audience.
Oh, sorry, Don, K0DBL. I've used DMR a little bit, but not much. So what does, it's like interoperability for voice and we're linking all this stuff. What does that mean to me? Does that mean that I can access through the LARC repeater and then talk to somebody way down south? Or what is linking? What does that mean to me?
So that's a great question, Don. The thing here is LARC has a repeater for analog, but you're not just on that one repeater, are you? LARC has transported it over to other repeaters, maybe the VHF to the UHF. Or if you're Colorado Connection, you're coming in on the Denver repeater, but you're also being heard on the Durango repeater. We're using this backbone to take that audio signal, whether it's an analog, a DMR, a fusion, P25, whatever, and we put all those packets down the backbone such that it comes out in Durango and out they go. So you don't need to know what protocol we're using, how we're getting them there, but we are. And that means if you're on a purpose-built network, I'll call it a private network. In the case of Colorado Connection, you're only on these repeaters, but you come out on all of the repeaters. Now, if you have a hotspot or other kind of radio, you might take your DMR signal, send it into this, send it through the internet, and it comes out in California. Or it could come out in Durango, or it comes out in England or California. That's very possible. So it's a matter of, do you have a purpose-built, focused into, in the case of Qualcomm, VHF in Colorado, case of RMHAM's DMR, we're covering primarily the state of Colorado. If you're going to the Brandmeister or some of the other DMR networks, they're more set up for what I call DXM. I want to try to see if I can talk to somebody in England. And that's great, but that's not why we built Colorado Connection or RMHAM. We built that to be more like a traffic net. I can pick up any day of the week and go from Longmont to Durango, and I'm not using the internet. I'm using dedicated resources. So if we had a big fire like they're having in Los Angeles, those terrible fires, our network is probably going to work. It's not going to be saturated or internet down. But there may be times that you do want DX on your radio. So, Mark, did you have some comment on that?
I just want for the, the interoperability. And we were talking about, Longmont, smaller, 2 repeaters. But I think Santa on the Air was a good show of the interoperability that we can connect, in I think this particular case, a couple of the NCARC repeaters so we can get a wider network. And we're trying to make this a lot more automated that we can do this, but there's no reason if there was a particular reason that we needed Longmont into the Colorado connection, that it can be done. So I think that's from the resources that we have, and we're all on the same network that we can do some of these things. The other is some of the interoperability that people are experimenting with some of the nets. I think some of the section net has got some of the fun machines. They're doing some things with DMR to be able to bring that into the analog through the All-Star. So
That might be my next slide, I'm not sure.
There we go.
But yes, one of the things that in the background we've been working on is this group called the ATF right now. And I'm not talking alcohol, tobacco, and fire alarms. It's the All-Star Task Force. And we're working to bring the management of these nodes. So LARC VHF and UHF would be 2 of the nodes. Colorado Connection, all 18 or so repeaters are managed entities. The Northern Colorado, half dozen are managed entities. And we can say, LARC, you can put your 2 together or take them apart as you see fit. Same thing with Qualcomm, same thing with Northern Colorado. But if we had another 2013 flood, and we said, well, to get coverage into where we need, we really need Qualcomm's Thornton, LARC. If Boulder was 7.0 as part of the equation, and we need one of the Northern Colorado repeaters, we can take those pieces and with a few mouse clicks, put them back together to make a situational area network. And we're very close to that.
Like a piece of cheese.
That could be the cheese. So, okay, it wasn't the next slide, but so we got 100 some things. How does SkyHub fit in the RMHAM backbone? We'll hold that thought for a second, and I'll get to that in just a moment. Good question, Steve. So this is just a snapshot of a program we have running called Observium. And it observes the whole network. And it's here found about 5 of these 100 sites. And then probably if it's your house, you maybe have 2 or 3 devices running. If it's one of our remote repeater sites, 20 to 25 IP addresses active up there. And it's watching every one of these every so many minutes and saying, are you healthy? Are you responding? And if they go away, it tells us so that we can start to fix, reroute, however we do. Steve asked the question, how does this apply to SkyHub? SkyHub is a internet-based linked system. They do not have their own microwave. They do not generally share our repeater sites. They're their own sites. So we're really not able to conduit. They have asked us to provide them internet gateways, but we don't have those to give away, where they say, well, you've got presence at this site and this commercial company has internet. We want to use that. And we're like, well, okay, talk to that company and see if they'll give you some of their internet bits. But we don't have access to that because we're not trying to run through the internet. We're trying to run through ham microwave. So this really, it just hasn't. We would work with SkyHub if they could, if we share a site, we share these mutual 2 sites, we could send their data over, but they have really designed around being internet based. So, and that's not what we do.
Point out one thing with all of the alarms, a lot of us, we get messages, I think it used to be on Telegram and now it's pretty much Discord. So when we've got major outages, there's a group of us that, get the pages and, I've gotten a couple at midnight and somebody, is not sleeping, is up and repaired something in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
It's nice because a lot of these sites we can't get to until midsummer.
Yeah, this is just telling us we lost a power strip, a camera at Horsetooth, a radio at West Creek. I don't know what Food Depot is.
Mexico.
Yeah, I have no idea why we have radios at the Food Depot, but okay. The router at the comm trailer, the router at our Lyman site, and a device at Willem's house was down. At least we know what to fix. So I think you can't bump the touchpad. We kind of talked about this. What can you do with it? We've talked about all these things. So let's talk about the art of the possible. How can you use this thing? Well, on the left here, we have one of the RMHAM QRB. Who knows Q codes, Q signals?
Not that one.
Quick response people.
What does QRB mean on CW?
Operate from a van.
It says, I'm ready to copy.
Okay.
QRB.
Okay.
QST is a bulletin. QRO is high power. QRP is low power. QRS is send slower. QR. Is it QRQ is send faster?
I don't
I
know.
won't say it's QRQ quick.
I know QRS.
But QRB is I'm ready to copy. So we have a number of these vans here on the lower left that are quick response vehicles or can go into the field and be ready to copy. And what you can't really see in the photo is that's a 50-foot mast. I've got an extra 12 feet of pipe with antenna. It was a piece of a 20-meter monobander with the American flag on it. And there's a 2015-10 3-element tri-bander with a single element on 40 below it. So that's basically 40 plus a tri-bander at 50-some feet at field day.
Nice.
And assuming the antenna works properly, which Mark and I and a few others spent days trying to figure out why these antennas won't resonate. Turns out it was improperly manufactured traps at Pushcraft. Maybe it's a good thing they're out of business. But we can put this antenna together and have it in the air easily under an hour. And if we're really focused, because it comes up generally in pieces. We take the elements off, boom. So you've got to put a few elements on, put a boom. The mast takes about 60 seconds to pneumatic head up. We can be on the air very quickly with these QRVs. That QRV that's pictured there is the one we call the QRV3. And it will be used at Winter Field Day in just over a week. So we have access points on a number of the local hills. There are some on Horsetooth Mountain, Namakwa Hill and near Loveland, and Lee Hill. Although the Lee Hill one is having a little trouble, we're working through it, and we've added a new one on El Dorado Mountain that looks down on Boulder Longmont. But we need to get the Boulder node working again. But you can go out in the field, and I've got a slide on this to, if you need to deploy and have data at a field spot, we can do that. We're working IP telephones. We've got the at the sites. I'm sorry?
Cisco.
Is that a Cisco? I usually use the Polycoms myself, and portable repeaters, whether you're running a cow, a sow, a goat, whether they're analog or digital. Everybody knows what a cow and a sow is, right? Cell on wheels, system on wheels. Anybody know what a goat is? I know
Use it
Mark
all the
does.
time.
Generator on a trailer. That's what the cell people actually call them. Well, and they've talked about Colts,
We had
cell
a
on
rat.
like truck. What, Mark?
We had a rat too,
A rat repeater.
on a trailer.
Isn't that a rot?
Road.
Roat. But this is what we can do with this backbone. And so here was this was a deployment we did they had this event called the Dirty 30 Trail Run. And the Dirty 30 was up in the mountains of Golden Gate State Park. It was 30 miles through the mountains. Who runs 30 miles through the mountains? What is wrong with these people?
Get a life.
You know, was it Don that had the philosophers up there, and he had the fourth great philosopher, George Carlin? He would be saying, what is wrong with these people? You can't trust anybody that runs 30 miles through the mountains. But we put up on one of the hills, we were trying to get, they had RFID tags on their shoes, and there were these RF mats that they would run over, and they wanted to get the runner information back to the start finish. And we said, okay, well, we could do that with our amateur radio. And they said, that's great. Then we can use that to give the prizes and send the sponsor data. No, we can't do that over amateur radio then. If you're trying to keep track of the person for health and welfare, we can do that. If you're getting monetary prizes, that's commercial use of amateur radio. So we changed our operation to not use amateur radio frequencies. We use the same equipment by programming it up in the unlicensed portion of the band, part 15. But we had to do more relays. So this one is a solar panel with a small lithium iron phosphate battery. I believe it was LiFePO, but you could have used a gel. It just means you need a bigger Sherpa to get it up to the top of the mountain. Did you have to Sherpa this stuff up, Mark, or were you smart?
Down.
Oh, you took it down. Okay. You were smart.
Yeah.
But we have just a little tripod that they held down with some luggage straps, invariably connected to a rock that was already there, and microwave access points. So we took the aid station that was way down here, sent it to the aid station that was way over there. There was no way you were going to get through. Even Starlink, the satellite, would have been included to some of these places because they're so deep in a canyon.
And cell phones don't work.
Cell phones don't work. We worked really hard to get DMR and analog there, but they didn't want walkie-talkie voice. They wanted to get digital data through. And so one of the arts of the possible, Chuck talked a little bit about our LARC repeaters. On the lower left here, we've got, these are the ones that we're currently using, Kenwood, the 750, 850 series. I don't know the exact date, but they were very popular right about 2000. So these repeaters that we're running, good repeaters, but it's 20 years old. Heat sink paste on the finals are starting to dry out. Capacitors are slowly drying out. They're giving us very good service, but I don't know for how many more years. But some of the bigger clubs have old Motorola and old GE repeaters, and like I know the Colorado Repeater Association is still running repeaters that are 40 years old. And they're almost state of the art. The receivers are slightly better on some of the new things, and the transmitters don't blow their finals quite as much, but still very good stuff. So what we're doing is, now that we have the backbone, we are starting to move towards, we can do voting receivers, because everybody know what a voting receiver on the repeaters are? Okay. So a normal repeater, we're listening, we have a receiver in this box, whether it's the one on the left or the one on the right. is a receiver, a digital controller to conduct all of these things, and a transmitter. The signal comes into the receiver. The controller says, is that a valid signal? Does that have the right PL tone or CTCSS? Continually coded tone signaling system, CTCSS. Or is it carrier, do the conditions apply that they're really talking to me? Yes, I'm going to take that audio, process it, add any beeps, boops, Santa links, etc. And then I'm going to send it to my transmitter and send it back out. That's the local. Now, in the case of like Santa on the air, which you can't call that SOTA, that's got to be Santota.
Santota.
Because SOTA is something that's on the air.
Scott still.
But for Santa on the air,
Santa Claus on.
we took the signal into the receiver, processed it, also sent it out to the internet so that it could go all the way to the North Pole, all the way to, you had a bunch in the East Coast in Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia, Stone Georgia.
A lot of Georgias. And then they would send it back to us, and then we'd send it to our local transmitter so we could hear it. That's a traditional repeater. But what we've evolved to is, whether it's this older or this newer equipment, we don't have one receiver anymore. We still have one transmitter, but that transmitter on our 2 meter used to be at the Justice Center. But we would receive, now we're receiving on Lee Hill, although there's an antenna problem up there that it's not as sensitive as we would like, but it's very high. And it can see in places, even being slightly deaf. What? It can still hear into places that we want it to. There's a receiver at the Justice Center. There's a receiver at Firestone's Public Works. It's a massive 25-foot tower at Public Works, but it is up there kind of on the hill, and it looks down, and there's a receiver at my house right now. These receivers, every 20 milliseconds, is it 20 or 50? I think it's 20. 20 looks at all the signals and says, which one is the strongest? Receiver 3, boom, I'm sending that one to the transmitter. 20 milliseconds later, I haven't moved. Receiver 3, it's the strongest, sends it to the transmitter. Then I move a little bit, and I'm not as strong into 3, I'm strongest into 1. It just automatically switches over. And you don't even hear it. We see it on our control boards. Because with the art of the possible, I can go to the repeater site without going to the repeater site. I can go to it from my easy chair. And my easy chair is nice and comfy and overstuffed, and it's warm and cozy in that chair. And the repeater site, it's a cabinet that's outdoors that you stand in front of when you open the big door. It's pretty cold up there. So we can now do easy linking. So I can connect LARC to Stone Mountain, Georgia. I can then take all these receivers. You used to hear on 2.7, people were frequently noisy, weren't they? Have you heard noisy people over the last 3-4 weeks? Probably less occurrences of it, because we've improved the transmitter and we added receivers. So when you were in Meade, or Don told me he lives in Meade, the receiver choices were the semi-deaf, think of it as somebody with a hearing aid, the battery's going dead, up on Lee Hill. And John, the Justice Center that you were over the river and through the woods, and not line of sight to. Yeah, so, and there's a city in the way. So this is what we've been able to do with this backbone. So yes, I acknowledge, I'm a LARC member, but I'm an RMHAM member. I'm also a CalCon on their board. $500 is a lot of money, but thank you. I can promise you we are using it and you will get your benefit back for it. This is the power of our cheese. So it's Okay, so we talked a little bit about operating events. Yeah, the Santa on the Air, there it is, ARL Section Net, all sorts of public service events. So if you are doing an event in Longmont, you could say, we're going to use our 2-meter repeater. Okay, that's great. If it doesn't have enough coverage, working with Mark, we're trying to get the 2 meters in town, and the UHF is kind of primarily out of transmitting from Lee Hill. That'll give you a little more extended coverage. So when you're closer to Longmont, go to VHF. When you're needing to go, then it's kind of like a wedding cake model. You want to go a little further, you go to the UHF. But you could say, we just still don't have enough. We'd like to use your RMHAM DMR up on Lee Hill. Okay. And if you need radios, we've got cash radios. We can hand them out. Or we link to the Northern Colorado Club. If we were still doing Bike MS, we would need a South Metro, North Metro, and up into Larimer County repeaters, considering the extended range of that event. And, okay, yes, Chuck, I think, or maybe it was Mark, talked about the ARL section net. We just had one Monday night. When we do this, we actually normally it's covering about 60 repeaters are all linked together for this one net. So there's a group that's not on this list. Does anybody recognize what that is?
Which one?
There's somebody not on this list that should be on there.
LARC.
Yeah, where's LARC?
I don't know.
So just like Santa on the Air, you can go to the Buckhorn. That was what you used for Santa on the Air. Calcon is really more than 16 repeaters, but the 16 analog repeaters link in. Rocky Mountain Ham DMR is actually more than 24. I think it's closer to 30 repeaters that we connect up for this event. Fun Machine has 8. The Mountain Amateur Radio Club, they were missing this past Monday. They had a tech problem, so we didn't have their 5. And then we have a number of hotspots. So this ARRL net to put all this communication together for people. And I don't know if you're an ARRL member. I know they're expensive. Some people don't like the way they run their organization, but they are trying. And they're our only national advocate for amateur radio. They are the only national group fighting to keep our spectrum. And please consider supporting them if you don't. If you really don't want to, I respect that. But they are doing something that is really needed. And this backbone connects 60-some repeaters together. So Chuck will jump in and help me a little bit with this, but some people, a couple of local hams came to me and said, you guys ham love to do ARRL June Field Day. I said, yeah, we do. We have a good time. We go up to Park County, actually to South Park. And no, we did not kill Kenny.
This year.
Well, doesn't he have to die in every episode though? But, you know, we didn't kill him. But we had a ball. We had a lot of successes. We had a couple of pieces that didn't work so well. And I said, oh, well, winter field day, it's cold. But we thought, well, maybe we should do an event. So we basically said, let's do a joint event. That winter field day is very similar to June. Our both clubs agreed we wanted to do some key learning goals, key learning conditions that were basically, let's put people on the air. Let's learn something new about non-fixed operation. Can we do some new technology? Because there are some bonus points in winter field day. We really don't. Do we care about the score? No, we don't care about the score. If we make 2 points, we'll be we will win. If we make
Make one contact is successful.
2 million points, we'll win. But let's build some new technology and stations and let's have fun while not having frostbite. No frostbite.
Well,
That's a biggie.
it depends.
Well, I'm doing everything I can on my
Oh,
end,
yeah.
like no frostbite. So Winterfield Day, and you can find all this. Saturday at 9 a.m. is when the event officially starts. And Sunday at 3 p.m. is when it ends. But we have a few time conflicts. Saturday morning is Rocky Mountain Ham University, as Mark pointed out. He's on the production team. And that's from 8 a.m. to noon. And we can't cancel that at this point. There's lots of people signed up for that. And I'll stress, if you want to go to that, you can go online to Zoom and check it out. And if you're bored, sign off. But I bet you won't. You won't want to. And it's free. It's free. The only thing is, the free online people, you don't get a power ring, a donut. But if you're there in person, you can have a power ring.
Or two.
Or two.
Where's ours? Don't we get power rings here?
You know, so
that's
also the same morning, LARC has a VE session starting at
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Right here.
Right here. So we kind of said, with these two conflicts, let's do a joint event. We'll kick it off with LARC here at the Clover Building, where we've got a big room and all of us can fit here. And you're probably going to put the tables over there.
You should put them here, here,
And
over here.
so you can sit down and operate. You can observe. You can ask questions. You can change your mind without stepping outside. Then at approximately, but you've got smaller antennas because you're in the city here and kind of limited for what you can do. I guess we could pull up a QRV and deploy, but Longmont PD might get a little worried.
I'm more about the fairgrounds because it's
Yeah.
Boulder County.
That's true. Boulder Sheriff.
I've already made them down once. We'll do it again. That's another story.
Don't take off CJ. He's a good sheriff.
No,
He's a great sheriff.
Yeah.
So we're going to start the event here. And I think because of just we're not connected completely on the RMHAM backbone. We're going to start running the logging, and the operation here is W0ENO.
Correct.
And you can come here. Think of this as more the lecture of a college course. And then, the next slide. Oh, okay. So this is the W0ENO. You're probably talking 2 positions, but you're talking about doing satellite
Possibly
and
satellite, possibly 3, but we'll just do that.
and it's not like we're in this to win it. We're in this to have fun. So you'll probably be, I put 9 to 4. You're maybe thinking it's 10 to.
Probably launch at 10-9. We'll get started, set up while they're testing on the outside stuff. We are going to do this totally off the grid, so we'll get points for that. The generator that the club has is going to actually sit in the back of my truck. I'll back it up to the door there. We'll run some extension cords in. Antennas will run windows, doors, wherever we need to put it. We've got the woofer recoil that comes with the go box. We'll be hooking up. I'm going to bring we'll probably bring all the radios and we can alternate them if we want. I've got a couple of new radios that we can hook up and play with as well that the club has acquired.
There's
a couple of pictures. And the location, I'm actually thinking about putting up a ham clock this year so we can, watch satellites and things like that go by as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun, very educational. And again, he says get on the air, but we use the concept getting on base. Do something different. Try something new. If you want to do digital or digital for it, come on to digital. You want to do CW? We've got 2 keys now for the club. We got paddles and a single.
Did it?
Yep. And then, of course, single segment. Like I said, it's not going to be the most fanciest setup in the world, but field day is not supposed to be fancy. You know, we go kind of overboard with Summerfield Day because we got that big 40-foot multi-band antenna we put up that takes 17 people and 3 hours to put up. We're not gonna do that on Winterfield Day. Did that once, never again.
But your field is fancy. Do you have food?
We will have food
That's fancy.
because
You have a radio and antennas.
have radio antennas, we have food. Yeah, so we have radio antennas this year. But we had radios last year, we didn't have antennas.
Oh, yeah.
And you're probably gonna use your go box.
We're gonna use the Go Box 71, which is 7,300.
So you come here, you, was it you, Don, that asked about training?
Yeah.
There's your training. Chuck is talking about bringing his satellite setup.
Yeah.
There's training. The Go Box to get on, you probably, I don't know what license class you are, but general. So you probably know how to get on sideband. You can sideband.
Oh, you got CW.
Have you done, oh, you're CW also?
Your Doug's new friend.
Somebody sent me this little artwork cartoon, and it was like a drawing caricature of the typical 1940s attractive guy with the 1940s really beautiful women. And there's this other sitting there going, he must be a CW operator. All the women are around this guy. And so I said,
Yeah, it works at parties, man.
he's a CW operator. But a friend of mine sent me, this is a really quick joke. And it shows this couple, and they're obviously on the first date. And she looks at the guy, he's all dressed nice, she's in a beautiful dress. And she looks at him and says, what's your favorite band? And he responds, 7 megahertz. Friend of mine sent that to me and said, this is why you don't get a lot of dates. but yeah, so that's training. And you can, if you haven't, you know, we were talking about after, I think one or both of us had just watched the movie Moneyball. What was the theme in there? He wanted players, it was Billy Banks with the Oakland A's. He wanted players that could get on base. Because how does he replace his star players that were scarfed from him and stolen away? And he says, I just got to get people that can get on base. You get on base, I'm going to get runs. Get runs, you're going to win the game. And we're looking to get people on base, get on the air. So, yeah, logging, we're going to run the same logging program. You're running FJP, right?
Yes,
So I'm going to use the same.
which he just updated today, by the way, there's a new version.
Okay, I haven't downloaded it yet. But we can't use FT4 and FTA, but we can use JS8 call. So I don't know if you guys have experience with JS8 call.
Nope, but I plan on playing it.
You're going to.
I'll play with it.
That's a key learning condition. We want to learn new things. And you have a nice warm area. When Chuck and I started this, we were thinking using the comm trailer and all the things. And he goes, I'd like to get 40 people there. And I was like, Chuck, it's not that big. So we kind of said, let's start here.
But since they're gonna be off the grid here, they gotta turn the heat off, right, and the lights?
I draw the line there.
So what,
We'll put an electric heater.
so before I kill
Build
the
a fire
fire,
in the corner.
what else do you want to say about clothing? We can go
And
back.
if there's something out here that you want to do that's not here, bring it up. You know, all of our computers are set up for logging. We have one that's in the Go Box that's set up for everything digital you can think of. We've got keys to do CW finally. For last year, we didn't have any keys, so I finally went out and bought one. Things like that. Now we got one donated to us, on key. So our storage shed is full of stuff. So if there's something you think of that you want to try, I'll drive to the storage shed and go pick it up and bring it here if it needs it. Okay. Like I said, I want to do the generator. I think it'd be good because when it hasn't been running over a year. So things like
Change
that.
the oil recently.
It's less, it's only 2 years old, and I think we've never changed the oil. I gotta make sure it's got oil, that's the first thing.
Yeah.
But,
It's only got 40,000 miles on it, huh?
it's got less than that. It's got like 24 hours on it.
And you're probably okay.
But, you know, kind of simulate, you know, summer field days outside, we always sit out there, it's fine. Winter field days to get us ready for summer field. Okay, but it's more of a learning experience. If you want to come socialize, that's good too, because that's a learning experience as well. You want us to watch and you're kind of shy? I'll prep your switch and try this on the air track.
I got a question though, because I always go to field day just for food. Are you gonna have food or what are we gonna have?
Yes. The last food be served.
No heat, remember.
No beef.
Food be
No
served.
heat for you.
Food be served around 3:30, 4 o'clock, and we're gonna do chili dogs. Lots of cheese, onions, chips, sodas, things like that.
And there's the gas for the heat.
Do it.
The chili will be.
Oh,
the
gas
gas.
for the heat. I missed that. That's good, thank you. But that's the heat you can take to the ranch. Right. And do his field day.
Well, so yes, this is the place that Chuck said, if you want to come and socialize, just going to dip your toe in for the first time, this is the place to come. Because then when we go out, you're welcome at both, or one, or both. I live over off of Highway 66 and County Road 3. And I don't know if you've seen the repeater in my spot up there, but
No.
if you're driving 66 and you see Road 3 going to the north and kind of heading up the hill, right a half a mile up when the hill peaks, there's a large red barn.
On the east or west side?
The east side.
Okay.
That's my red barn.
Okay.
So you can see it from Highway 66, and another half mile up the road is that Rocky Mountain Chemics. So I've got a long driveway that's 900 feet long, and boy, do I feel it when I go to take the garbage cans out. And 7 acres property. I'm in unincorporated well. There's no HOA. There's no neighbors to speak of. Well, my one neighbors that are, what are they, like 400 feet away? They're in Arizona for 3 months. So we can do whatever we want to do. And the neighboring property is Coors Barley Field and 66 acres of farmland. We can do whatever we want to do out there.
Don't get crazy Uncle Chris, the ham across the street.
And across the street to the west is W5CUC, goes by Crazy Uncle Chris, and he roasts coffee. And he's a terrible neighbor on Tuesdays, especially in the summer when you have the windows open and he's roasting and that aroma just floats. One morning I was like, it's time to get up. Boy, I smell the coffee. Hold it, who made coffee? It's Chris roasting. Maybe I'll see if I can get some. But there's my property up here. We're going to be up in this upper quadrant. What I want to do is, this was actually a picture we took during the simulated emergency test. Did any of you participate in the SCT with BCARES? Okay. Well, I know you did because you were up there. Rick was. The state EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, was actually out of service with the radios due to some rework. So we made a decision, well, do we go to the alternate, the backup EOC, which is in Pueblo, or do we deploy in the communications trailer? This is an inside shot of it. This is the RMHAM comm trailer. It's about 24 feet long. There are 4 operating positions that you can see, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The back door is currently down. It's got a ramp door so we can load big things down the middle. But that on winter field day will of course have to remain open because we otherwise have to get the cable. No, I'm joking. That'll be closed. And so we activated for the SCT from, I call it the K2AD Radio Ranch. And that was the actual Trivander with 40 meters on it. We had a 2-meter beam, an Omni, and we simulated the EOC from here. And this equipment is still here. So we will have this antenna with this setup, and we got 40 meters. We'll do some 80-meter experimental antennas. And that'll be one of our antenna setups. I have another QRV. This is QRV3. The QRV2 will be coming down. And I'm going to put that about 300 to 400 feet away on the other side of the barn and have a second antenna, and we'll run a cable out to it. Thankfully, I have a nice 500-foot piece of 1-inch hardline or semi-flexible hardline, that we can bring that antenna back to the trailer and we'll put the stations in there. So we'll have at least 2 HF stations. I just got a brand new HF rig that I'm dying to try out, and with some real antennas and things. And this is my old HF, the Elecraft K3. So we'll have that. We'll be able to run sideband, CW. Yes, it's got to run CW. JSA call. I think Sean Feo is going to bring his satellite setup. Maybe Chuck will bring the one from here on Saturday, and we can do a second. I'm going to try to hook up a 6-meter, pair of my 6-meter Yagis and put them on a radio. But if you really wanted, so this is the place to come. Think of this more like Saturday here at LARC is the chemistry lecture. This is the chemistry lab. When you want to get on the air, the trailer only has 4 chairs. So, you know, the operating area is like this front row, maybe with 1 extra seat. This isn't a great place to come and socialize.
I don't know. The field day, there was like 8 of us in the back. No, I mean, you're up on the hill doing your CW and your timeout area.
And you know why I was up on the hill in my timeout area? Because you were too noisy. But this is a great place to come and say, I want to get on the air. I want to either use your rigs or I really want to try one of mine, and we can plug them into an antenna and you can experiment and get on the air. So all we ask is just send us a note that you want to be there, and we make sure that we've got a chair and a little bit of heat. We're bringing the RMHAM com trailer down. Not com trailer, that's the com trailer. Generator trailer. So we'll have 25 kilowatts of diesel generator. So we're going to run, this trailer has full heating and air conditioning, and we're going to be running that heat at full. I doubt it'll ever shut off. I don't care if we burn some more diesel. And up, if we put the other QRV in this southeast corner, right next to it is a solar trailer with battery and inverters. So we can also power that using the emergency equipment we have. And if I had it built up, I was going to do a remote station to it operating from the com trailer. But if somebody wants to go out to the van and locally operate, you can, just we have limited heat out there. So that's kind of the concept.
And that's the bunkhouse, or what we call it, with all of the solar panels on it. That's what's currently powering temporary power.
Yeah.
So when do we move over to the ranch?
So this is the questions, comments, and if you have complaints, we do take those. Please write it on the back of a $20 bill and hand it to Chuck. So we will fire up and start operating at the ranch. Well, we said here at the Clover, probably if you don't have a lot of testes, 9 o'clock. If you do have 10, 10:30, whenever you're finished. And how incredible is that if you are a new ham testing in and you pass, you can say, would you like to go and get on the air?
Or if for some reason you don't pass,
that's cool.
you don't pass for some reason, here's an incentive to go get your ticket. Come have a seat, let me get you out here.
Here's an Elmer, and you can listen in. And
they can get on the air.
Yes.
With their Elmer or whoever's this.
And start by listening and then get on the air. And when you start reading this now in your textbooks, you're going to go, oh, I see what they're talking about. This is a great thing that I'm glad we have this conflict, as I called it, a scheduling conflict for LARC. Then out here, depending on if I go in person to Rocky Mountain Ham, or I may just do it online such that we can throttle up. When RMHAM usually ends about 11:30. So I could be home by 12:30. Probably by 1 o'clock, we're going to fire up, and we'll use a different call signs since we're not coordinating our logs yet. But if we do this again, we could start winter field day here. And there's a provision in there to move your operation just the way I suspect they're doing this in Los Angeles right now. They set up an incident command post, and then the fire moves, and they have to move it. And the creators of winter field day were smart enough to say, we're going to put that in. So in the future, we could do this just like a space shuttle launch. We launch it here, and then we transfer at some point to Houston at my house and continue to operate. But this year, we thought that was a little complicated. And the nice thing is, we can work the same people again because it's a different class and it's different equipment. And it's perfectly legal and proper if you work a person from here and then you go and work them from my house. That's legal. That's proper.
You're in a different county. No, you're in the same county.
No, I'm in Wells County.
So, well, then you're in a different county. There you go.
And a different call sign.
It's a different, really what it is they don't want you to stack the deck. You can, once you use a call sign on a radio, they kind of said I make one QSO on a rig, that's W0ENO. I can't switch to the next call sign, to the next call sign, to the next call sign. That's against the rules. It's legal in FCC, but it's against the field day rules. So my rigs, we can't use W0ENO legally. So we'll use the N0 Sugar Zebra club call. Unless you guys are masochists and want to run a 2-call from Colorado, Zero Land, you could use mine, which is a nice call sign, especially on CW, but still. So that's kind of what we're thinking, and hopefully some people will join us. And we're not going to have a lot of food out at the ranch. If you want food, come here, because I moved from Firestone. I don't remember exactly. I think I had like 6,800 square feet and 8 garage bays and plenty of space.
On a corner lot, but it was an HOA, but you got around that.
Yeah.
It was town trustee.
But my new house with the second floor bonus room is, I think, 1,300 square feet. The kitchen is the size of the bathroom. I haven't renovated it yet. The house was built in 1900. And as my realtor pointed out, I said, it's only got 1 bathroom. She said, but it is indoors. For built in 1900?
That's
and
good.
I don't have a lot of space, so there's not really.
But you do outside.
Yeah. But if it's like it's going to be tomorrow afternoon, what are we talking? A high of 55 degrees? We could call up Meat Pizza Plus or throw some chili and eat outdoors. Got plenty of card tables and easy ups. But if it's like what it's supposed to be on Saturday, what are they forecasting? Like
I have 14
0
on Saturday.
14 high. What's the low going to be?
Negative something.
I've heard wind chills of -30.
Yeah.
Wind chill.
And where I am, there's always wind.
Yeah.
There's probably wind where you are, but that wind comes up the ridge on the west, so it's going to be cold. So would love to have you if you're coming out, come out to play radio, not socialize because we don't have a lot of socialize. Don't expect a lot of food, but expect a good time. Here's the place to socialize and good food. So we kind of said, how do we put your chocolate with my peanut butter? And we're making a Reese's. And those things are pretty tasty.
And it's going to get better because we're going to have a learning experience. We'll talk about afterwards. Plan for 2026, things like that, because we want to do more with RMHAM. We want to do more with other clubs. That's the other thing that we're working on doing. We've got a great relationship with them. We adopted Indian Peaks. We work with NCART. I'm talking about adopting CU, Amateur Radio Club, as well, and helping them out where we can.
Is that actually a club in the university?
Yep. It's an actual club at the university again.
Not
board
part
and everything.
Not bar, but
They have their own board, everything.
Really? That's cool.
They have
That's cool.
teacher or instructors who facilitate and help manage everything as well. I think their entire board, most of them got their tech license a couple months ago. They came here and tested. Charlie, who's their club president, is actually, I believe, one of Bart's, I forget if it's the treasurer or president's son.
So their president is an actual student.
Yep. In fact, the whole board's actual students.
And I don't know if we should tip off Willem, AC0KQ. Because Willem is the lead, he's an RMHAM board member. He's the lead of Rocky Mountain Ham University. He has 2 PhDs. Plus, I think he's got a third informal. He's got a PhD in applied mathematics, PhD in computer science, and I believe he's got an honorary PhD in sarcasm. I really love his sense of humor.
Oh, he's a great
But
person.
his new main job is he's an associate professor at CU, mostly teaching graduate computer science courses. But he's on faculty there. And we should get him involved in that because
He might already be, you know.
yeah, you get Willem involved in that and the man is smart. The man is smart.
I'm trying to think who it was. I think it was either Will or one of our club members. They were doing a POTA with some of the club members from CU ARC. They loved our Go box. They want to use it again. I said, I got a better idea. Yes, you can use it. Don't get me wrong. How do we build one for your club yourself? We had a silent, no, actually, somebody who acquired a 705 from a silent key say, I want to donate this to LARC. We all know 705 is nice, portable, very nice high-end icon radio. I said, we're going to give it to CU ARC. And they can build their own Go box. They'll have it there. For housing it, they can check out whatever they want, things like that. We'll work with them to try to get like a Wolfram recoil or some kind of portable antenna as well, or a long wire they can just roll up in there and throw up, or a dipole or whatever, and build them a box and they can just pick it up, go wherever. Small solar panel, maybe a battery, things like that.
When I service the public safety repeater down there, I noticed on the engineering building, they have an Oscar array.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I don't know that it's moved in years. It would be great if they could kind of bring that back to life.
Sure.
But, and I showed you the QRVs. The concept we're doing is we're currently rebuilding, I was going to say 2, but we're going to renovate the QRV2, which is coming down tomorrow morning to my house. So we'll use that. We're going to renovate the QRV3 and 4. We'll have QRV3 there. 4, it lives at James Isaac's house in Berthoud, Loveland. But we're going to be changing the interior of those to put the basic support pieces and then open operating tables rather than the rack-mounted stuff that we've had. And what you do on the table is if you're running field day, you put your HF radio on the table and go. If you're doing an Aries, well, what I need for Aries might be different than what you need. You put your Go box on the table, plug into our 120 volt, well, we have inverters, plug into our 12 volt, where these vans are going to be set up with a lot of battery power. Microwave, satellite, Starlink. We've got a mobile command post. And, so maybe we should, since I think we're done here, I'll stop the share.
There we go.
Already done.
Oh, it's stopped the share, so we can,
I just killed it.
okay, thank you.
Connection.
So we can, oops. Okay. Oh, we got George Carlin back. So the whole idea is on these new vans, you know what you need, whether it's a parade and like the Marshall Fire. We needed a particular kind of packet. And BCares had some Go kits, but they maybe, I don't know if they had the power system, the antenna system. We could roll a van in, drop the equipment on, and go. So was there an online, or I saw Steve had a question?
Oh, just a very quick question. Sign up. On.
There is a sign-up sheet online for both, for the Clover building. So if you go to events, the event sign up tab on the very front page of the menu, you can sign up there, set some time up, some slots. I think I'm trying to do 4 per table, 3 per table. I got 1 hour time slots. You can do multiple time slots. I don't care. I just want to kind of get a general idea of how many people are going to show up so I can make sure we can accommodate everybody. Especially if, let's face it, probably 85% is going to do single side band. With a popular table. Maybe 2% is going to do CW or digital. This is what we can kind of figure out and, things like that.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, we're gonna be in the 2%.
well, yeah. And then also I can kind of plan accordingly for make sure I don't buy too much food that it goes to waste as well.
Yeah.
I'm a lot of times we get a lot of leftover food and trying to find a proper home for it is hard.
And the signups from my side are not yet there.
No.
But I think what we'll do is pop up maybe just 2 or 3 columns and say, find an open slot and you can put your call in there. And if you want a partner, just arrange it with, so if Chuck signs up and I say, I want to, it's fine, I'll show up and Chuck's slot and we can put the 2 of you on. I was going to try to get it to band and mode, and I said it's too complicated.
And for some reason, if you don't see his online, just send me an email.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure that that gets it. So he gets an idea as well. Basically, I want controlled chaos. We're running a net to a degree.
And if you just want to hop in and you're willing to say, geez, you got 6 people in this trailer already, I'll come back.
Yeah.
Come on back. But chances are you'll be able to sit down. I'm going to try to have 2 headsets at most of the positions.
And usually after about 9 p.m. is the best time to transmit because there'll be nobody there. Nobody's going to be out in the freezing. I spent the night here last time by myself for Winter Field Day because we had this building for 24 hours. So
the heaters in that trailer are pretty good.
Oh,
yeah.
Now that I have the 25 kilowatt diesel coming down, we were going to try to run it on a gasoline 8 kilowatt. And I was like, yeah, I think we can run the rigs because the rigs run off batteries. So we're just trickle charging the batteries the whole time. But those heaters do suck a bunch. So we can run the front and back heaters and probably turn that thing into a sauna if we had.
So really quick, does anybody have any questions online? All right, go ahead, Don.
I have one last question, back to the linking and all that.
Yes.
Just make sure I understood what we're doing. So every year I participate in Ned Gravel and I'm
Ned Gravel, okay.
And my location is Gold Hill. So I'm not on the IPRC repeater. I have to use the Gold Hill repeater. So if they're both part of the RMHAM,
if they were connected in, then we could, but they would need to have a way to get to that. We need to get them on the microwave.
Right, yeah.
And they're not currently.
So if they were, then the net control wouldn't have to switch between the 2 repeaters.
Correct.
Okay. I'll mention that to them.
But yeah, in the past they've had some interest, but they've also not wanted to have. They kind of like doing their thing their way because they're
Netherlands.
I was just going to say they're way up there. They're in Netherlands.
The repeater's only at 11,000 feet. I mean, I'm just a little jealous.
It's okay that they do their own thing, but because we're rather inflexible. If you're going to join the backbone, you got to join the backbone by the common rules. And when you're managing 100-some nodes, and we did have a group that said, we want you to redo your routing and your IP network. And if you don't, we're not going to participate. And we said, sorry to hear that. I hope the door doesn't hit you in the rear end on your way out. Because we can't change 100-some nodes to accommodate a non-standard And
the good thing is there is the flexibility. Doug was talking, and we've been talking a little bit offline, a little bit of how we can maybe increase some more stuff. Like our Hamlin on Tuesday night is great educational nets. And I brought up on one of our nets. Unfortunately, it's at the same time the traffic net happens on our connections every 7 o'clock at night. But if we change our time, there's potential maybe we can link into something like our connection and expand the front range to get more people on our nets.
Which means your Elmers can be available to the whole state, or you can get alternate subject matter experts now brought into here to Longmont.
And we've also got, if it's kind of the front range, we could probably work out something with the CRA.
Yeah.
Because they've got pretty much the front range and a repeater down in Colorado.
Yeah, but what I'm just saying is that there's the opportunity for advancement for LARC being part of this backbone and things like that.
Mhm.
There's eventually Sound on the Air, if I can plan this right, I might be able to do the whole state of Colorado.
Yeah, that's cool.
Depending on times and stuff. You do have to play nice with others and play around. There's already people who are set in stone on their nets and things like that. And we don't want to interfere with that, I'm not messing with Leslie's traffic net. She'll come drive over here and just beat the living. For those of you who know Leslie, she's a really nice woman, but she's set, which is fine. And
She
I
spent
respect
so
that.
much time building that traffic.
Yeah, and it's her net.
Just don't mess with it.
Yeah.
We had to interrupt her once a month for the ARL section net. We're talking 60 repeaters. We couldn't find any other time. And she was not happy at first, but we found a way to meet the needs of both. But what you could do for Santa is you could say, well, my core is 2.7 here,
Right.
and maybe the NCARC repeater, and then say on this night we're going to reach out and pull in Qualcomm. The other night we're going to reach out to this national reflector. So you could do things. You don't have to run
Right, yeah.
the net on every repeater every night
No.
and risk oversaturating,
Right.
over communicating your message.
That's cool.
Because Santa's busy.
Speaking of which, I'm looking
But
for
Santa
Santa's.
was very good to me. Do you remember what I asked Santa for?
K4. Yeah.
An Elecraft K4. It will be in the comm trailer for Winter Field Day. It's here.
Yes, Doug called Santa, so he was one.
But he didn't bring me the 1500 watt amplifier. Because Santa put a note on it.
You put a
You're
cheese
only
out.
allowed to run 100 watts for Winter Field Day.
You put a cheese out.
Yeah,
I didn't use the right kind of cheese.
He likes the Gouda. He likes the good stuff.
That's so good.
Or brie, warm. Speaking of which, volunteer opportunities, please keep an eye on the website. We have a lot coming up. Santa on the Air, I'm already going to recruit Santas for next year, and Mrs. Clauses if you're interested. We actually have Mrs. Claus on the air. Because Santa's got to do stuff with the elves, with the sleigh sometimes that he can't be on. Elves, things like that. It is probably one of the largest events that we do on the air for LARC. We've been doing it for 4 years now. We've got lots. First year we did it, we were on news here. I heard we were on a Boston station affiliate, one of the CBS stations or something out here in Denver, ended up in Boston. We've had children from all over the world calling, and adults. So Santa will talk to you whatever your age is. He's not part of, he can care less. But it's a good time. It's a good thing for everybody. It gets a lot of kids on the air for the first time. And the one thing that people don't know that I'm proud of, and I spend a lot of time doing, is every person who contacts Santa gets a QSL card. That in itself, to me, is a lot of parents have emailed me and said, this is the best gift anybody's ever gotten, my kids.
Cool.
That is something to remember by. With that said, our Santa is changing for our picture for a QSL card. I have talked, Kat and Brian Dorninger, who's our training coordinators, are going to be the face of Mr. and Mrs. Claus for Santa on the Air going forward.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
We're going to be doing some photo shoots with them here in the next month or couple of months or so. I'm going to do different poses. I'm probably just do a green screen, and that way I can change the background to whatever I want. Different poses. They'll be our face of Mr. and Mrs. Claus going forward.
Are you keeping the reindeer?
Years to come. Do it.
Are the reindeer?
We might throw some reindeer in there.
No, you're keeping those though.
The reindeer?
Yeah, you're not going to change out the reindeer, are you?
Oh, no, I wish I had reindeer on there. I don't have any reindeer. I will probably get rid of El Chucky off the back. That's kind of my selfish thing to do. But little things like that because it's a little more personal.
That holds nice.
We have other clubs that join us as well that say, hey, we like what you're doing. Can we join? And this year, every Santa, first year we did this, for those who don't know, there's a man by the name of John Chelsom, who lives here in Longmont. He's been Santa for many, many years. He's written 2 books on how to be Santa, retired a couple years ago, officially from being Santa. Every one of my Santa's got a copy, a signed copy of his book for playing Santa this year. And even Mrs. Claus got one, and Ann Donahue from Incart was our Mrs. Claus, said, thank you, Chuck, because get a lot out of that. And he loved doing it. I visited him, he's got some health issues, but he wishes he could still play Santa. He's like 85, he's like, I just can't do it anymore. So things like that, and that's the kind of things I want to keep our club, going with, because that is something that's just been very special, and it people love it. They don't want to go to the mall sometimes, or who knows, stay in Asia, another pandemic or whatever the heck might happen. But
Please, no more pandemic.
like they say though, you're gonna look for when everything else fails. You're gonna be looking for an amateur radio operator. Then you're gonna be looking for the guy with the guns and the other person with the food. So when the apocalypse comes, we're the three people you want, and we want to make sure Santa stays on the air. So if you're interested, please let me know. I'm recruiting now. Again, look for all the events online. If you want to do a class or something, let me know. We'll get it scheduled. But with that said, does anybody else have any other questions? Well, I want to say thank you. Doug, thank you very much for the presentation. No?
Ready for the presentation.
Okay. All right. K0STE, Steve, membership. You got anything, sir?
For anybody that's going to be at the NCAR Ham Fest, look me up and you can pay your dues there if you're behind.
Yep, we will be there. We have a table, and we're also going to have a GOTA station there. So if you want to get on the air, you never have an HF before, so give it an opportunity. The club, for those of you who don't know, and I'll throw this in really quick, the club has purchased a printer, a nice little small carryable printer, and we print out first-time contact certificates. So they're framed really nice on really good heavy paper with the first contact, who you contacted, the time, location, things like that. So it's something I'm hoping people will remember and give them something to say, hey, this club is pretty neat. They give me something to remember my first contact by. The first time I did this, unfortunately, it was a piece of paper and we wrote everything down, and I felt kind of bad. So I went out and made, AWRO has a nice certificate for first contact, but I wanted to customize something to the club. And so I did that, and I can print it out right there and we're good to go. Okay. W0JJC, Bob, anything from the Treasury?
Can you hear me okay?
We can, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I'm doing Bluetooth through my hearing aid, so it's nice to know it's working.
It's working.
Yeah, as treasurer, memberships are coming in on a regular basis. We did donate in about December $500 to RMHAM, and we have a savings account of about $10,000, and I put about half of that into a CD, a 7-month CD, because make a little more interest. So we're financially we're in good shape.
All right. Have any questions for Bob? All right. That's all the board members we have. I do have, as a reminder again, I do have empty positions for committees, club historian, which is a board member committee, and event planning. So if you'd like to be a voting member, come talk to us and let us know. I'm trying to get those positions filled. So without further ado, before I keep going, K2AD, Doug Sharp.